Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the flight deck. We are today in the A2A P-51D by, nonetheless, A2A. As you know, I'm pretty fond of this aircraft, especially airsoft aircraft too. We're right now down in St. Martin, and the scenery tends to be laggy for me in full screen. Whatever. This scenery is quite heavy, especially with a maxed out load. Even with aircraft not on, which I don't know why they aren't. That's okay. We're just here for a short tutorial over the start procedures. So I'm going to try to give you guys a 10-minute video, 10-11-minute video, as short as I possibly can for the start procedure, and doing so with giving a short video, but yet still also explaining things to you and going over things for you guys. So it's a pretty gorgeous aircraft. I'm a big fan of it personally. I mean, the detail is pretty great. So it is raining, so we're just open up the cockpit, maybe take a little shower before flight. So upon entering the cabin or cockpit, whatever you guys like to call it, I prefer cabin. You're going to notice that everything should be set to off, which it isn't, because I had just got done with a flight to St. Martin. So we're going to go ahead and turn everything off and act like, you know, it's cold start. This engine is, I believe, cold. I don't think it came in warm. I mean, I just got down from 20,000 feet with my shutters open, so it was quite a cold engine. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go over a few of the basics, just a few little quick helpful things that A2A gives you, and a general small overview of this aircraft in a nice quick short amount of time. So go ahead and press Shift 2, follow along with me in your flight simulator. If you have a second monitor, put this video up on your second monitor and you can follow along with me there. It's going to be nice, easy, and simple. So what I just did is I pressed Shift 2 and that brings up your pilot notes. Now it's going to give you your outside temperature in Celsius and Fahrenheit. It's going to tell you if your cabin is warm or not. That really doesn't matter. That's just there for realism and sort of like a roleplay experience. You have your estimations of ground speed, endurance, range, and fuel economy. Now that's going to help you in the air. It is your cheat sheet for getting good mileage out of your plane. If you want to, let's say, go on a nice long flight from LA to Chicago in a P-51, you can very easily do so, but you've got to be nice and high, and you've got to really use your pilot notes here to really figure out what your best range and speed is, and essentially, you know, what's the best mixture of speed to range. This aircraft surprisingly has pretty good range. We'll go over that in another video. It also shows your power settings, your takeoff, climb, and cruise. That's you can follow that if you want a good lasting aircraft. If you go full throttle on this thing all the time, and especially if you go, let's say, like I cruise at 20,000 feet, so if you go full throttle on this guy up to 28,000 feet and maintain that full throttle, you're not going to hurt this thing because you're going to have such a low manifold pressure. You're not putting any strain on the engine, and you can back off the RPM a little bit, bring it right down the red line. You're perfect. So you really don't have to worry about that unless you're flying at low altitude, below 17,000 feet usually. This has all your notes, like your primer for startup. This is part of your startup right here. Has as soon as you get in the cabin, you know, it goes over everything that you should have. Flaps should be up, but our flaps are down right now. Gear down, everything. And then it's going to go with engine starting up. You have your little checklist right here. Then you have your takeoff and climb. Your climb is very simple. It's a two-step checklist, not bad for climb. Same thing with level flight, two-step checklist. Just double check everything. And then approach and landing has a nice laid out checklist for you there. So you can go ahead and press Shift 2 again, and that'll close that menu. If you press Shift 3, that's going to bring you up to your controls. Now, with your controls, you have your miscellaneous controls. That's like your extra things like your oxygen mask, your control lock, headphones, pitot heat, oxy mask, anything like that. It's going to have in the miscellaneous section. Your electric is all of your electrical system, your generator, mag, both your mags, your battery, and your avionics. Your lighting system is going to be on the far right of this control column, and that's going to be every light in this thing that you can control from here. Now this is pretty nice, especially if you're new to the aircraft. I use this quite a lot when I am in new A2A aircraft, because it's just, if you want to get up and start flying and just get a good feel for the aircraft really before you start learning how to properly go through procedures and stuff, you're going to set your auto start, turn, and it'll turn on your lights and everything. You're good to go there, and you can just pretty much taxi and take off. You can also control your shutters from here. Quick tip about your shutters: if you are on the ground and it's cold out, which right now it's not, we're in St. Martin, it's like 82 degrees Fahrenheit here. then you're good. Then you're absolutely good. Just keep those at auto or fixed to open, and that's good. But however, I fly a lot up north, so if you're on the ground, you have a cold start, the best thing to do to warm your engine up really quick so that you don't have to worry about sitting there and waiting for your engine to warm up, because when you do have your auto shutters on, sometimes even in really cold weather like 0 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 12 degrees Celsius, you're still going to have open shutters if you have them set to auto. So the best thing you do is keep those closed in cold weather and open on ground and on taxi and warm weather. So you also have your volume control, your damage, your cold and dark, your auto start, your throttle gate. We'll go over the throttle gate a little bit more later in our next video for this, our next tutorial for this. And that's just a quick overview of it. Is that you can scroll wheel and the position that you want, and the further I go down, so right now I'm at halfway in the position. That means when I'm at full throttle, realistically the throttle is limited to only going to half throttle. So that's pretty much all your throttle gate does, and then your dead zone limits when it's going to cut out. So that's pretty much all there is to that. So go ahead, press Shift 3 again, and that's going to go ahead and close your control menu. Now press Shift 4, and that's going to bring up your payload and fuel manager. Here you can see your total weight of your aircraft, your payload, so what you have. Your payload includes all the fuel on your plane, your pilot, your coolant, your aftercoolant, your oil, your hydraulic fluid, and your oxygen system. It includes all that in the weight. Now I'm already topped off, but what you can do is in the bottom left hand corner of your payload and fuel manager, it has a fill and charge. That means you can click this and it'll either fill it or take it out. Your coolant, it'll fill up your coolant and everything. All you have to do is do a left click on that and it'll be good to go. You can also just click the little icons and it'll fill everything up there. So what I usually like to do for my takeoff, which I recommend you guys do, I usually set to my left tank, but you can set to your right tank, which is probably going to be best for everyone, for especially new pilots that are flying this aircraft, because this plane has it's very rough to take off, especially in bad weather. This plane is very rough to take off. It's kind of like driving a manual. You gotta very smoothly put in the rudder input with the stick, so you have to gradually pull back as you're releasing the rudder. We'll go over that in our next video for this. Next video will be taxi and takeoff. So usually what I like to do is set that right wing or left wing to about 25 gallons, because that's going to get you well beyond your 28,000 cruising level, which I recommend 28,000 because it's like the perfect mixture. You're going to be either right above or right in between layers of storms, and that's going to help you for your taxi startup and your ascent. So you're not going to go through that fuel very quickly, even at full throttle climbing to your ascent. And then once you're at your cruise altitude, you can use your fuselage tank for your cruise and ascent. So that's also pretty nice. Make sure, whether it's summer or not, that you have your oil grade set to the seasons. That doesn't matter so much on the ground as it does to when you get up high. The temperature changes very quickly the higher you go up. Everyone here knows that. Anyone that's watching this video, I'm pretty sure does. We're either all real world pilots or we're enthusiast simmers. So the weather changes drastically temperature wise the higher you go up. So if you have a summer oil grade and it's not, like 32 degrees up at 30,000 feet, which is very rare, usually it's about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, then you're going to have a problem with that, because your oil is going to be too thin and you're going to start to get too high of an oil pressure or too low of an oil pressure. So you want to select your winter grade if you're in winter, and then normal is just like the fall and springtime, but I'm going to go ahead and set summer since we are in St. Martin right now, and even though it is the winter, it is still warm. I mean, it's 82 degrees Fahrenheit, so we don't have to worry about that. So guys, after that, Shift 5 brings up your map, Shift 6 brings up your radios, and then Shift 7 brings up your hangar. Now your hangar is if anything's wrong with it. I have about 38.9 hours that I put on this airframe so far, and I have 10.8 hours that I've put on the engine so far. It's a pretty good aircraft. Actually, let's go back to that menu. If you click check engine, which is right above complete overhaul, that's going to show you your engine, and anything that is yellow means that it's going out or it's old, needs to be replaced soon, and red means that it is either, sometimes with engine parts, if it's red means that it's about to go out, and you might have like a half an hour to an hour of life left in it, in that part, so you need to change it immediately. If it's red, change it immediately. Yellow, it's okay. Green means it's perfect and it's good to go. Same thing with the outside of the plane. If the prop is bad, then it'll show up red with the prop. If there's a coolant leak, it'll show right here that there is a coolant leak. It'll be either red or yellow. Yellow means that the coolant leak is very light and easy. So if you're mid-flight and have a yellow coolant leak, you're okay. You're good. You can keep going. Just kind of make sure watch your temperatures. If anything's red, any leaking fuel, oil leak, or coolant leak, you need to replace it right then and there, or you'll take off, get halfway through your flight, and you'll have no coolant. I've done that before by accident. So we're gonna go ahead and flip our battery switch on, which is in the bottom right-hand corner down here, and go ahead and flip that battery switch on, and that's gonna bring up all our gauges. First thing you want to do after turning on your battery is make sure that these three lights are on. These three lights are on. That means you're good. It means everything's okay. The manifold pressure, if you guys are looking at it, it's weird. It's stuck at 30 inches. So that's okay. That's normal. That'll come back down after startup. Your coolant temp, pay attention to your coolant temp. Your coolant's pretty low. Your carb temp, our carb temp is nice and green, and your oil temp is perfect for startup. It means you have nice, fluent oil. It's not thick and it's not runny. And so yeah, so that's perfect oil pressure. We're good there. So we're going to go ahead, go down here, fuel cutoff, fuel cutoff valve or shutoff valve, whichever you prefer to say. You're going to switch over to your right main tank, which is what I currently have the fuel in. If you press Control E, it'll switch over to left main tank, so make sure you have fuel in that. And then make sure our heater and everything is off. Go over here by our rudder trim and aileron trim. There are the coolant tabs. I'm going to set these down both to open. If you just heard there's a little bit of a whoosh, that means that those were actually not open and they were closed. Go down here to your carburetor control. When you're on the ground or below 10,000 feet, you usually turn these off around after 3,000 feet, your carburetor filter. But make sure when you're on the ground, you have that lever all the way down, and the heating lever, which is on the right-hand side closest to the pilot, is all the way forward, which is just normal outside cool air. You don't want to use the carb heat ever at ground. So it says don't use carb heat above 12,000 feet altitude. That is okay, but if you're like me and you are flying long haul flights, I usually use the carb heat to keep my carb nice and warm. I don't actually know why you're not supposed to use it above 12,000 feet. I'm not super sure, but I use it anyways. So, but hey, don't go off my word for that, because I'm obviously doing it wrong in that aspect. So we have our fuel selected. Our fuel shutoff valve is on. Control lock, that's off. We're good there. Nothing's locked there. We have full access to our rudders and our ailerons. We'll go ahead and press Shift Enter, bring up, and we can look and see that we do have movement of our rudder, and we have full movement of our elevator. So we're good there. So now let's go ahead and prime the engine. First, hit your fuel boost switch on. You're going to see your fuel pressure over here in that bottom right gauge right here. You're going to see it come up. That should come up to 10 psi. Once that's at 10 psi, go ahead and hit your primer switch. Count to 4 seconds for a cold engine, just a few seconds for a hot engine. So I have a pretty hot engine, but I went ahead and gave it 4 seconds. Make sure that your mixture is set to idle or cut off. Make sure that your throttle is cracked and your RPM lever is all the way forward. Now we're going to go ahead and go up here, kind of zoom back a little so that we can see the blades. Hit our starter, and we're going to count 6 blades. 1, 2. Throw the magnetos in place and kind of give it some throttle, get some gas. Boom, bring that down, and go ahead and throw that in a run. Run is the second one down, not the third one down. I accidentally put it in full rich. Turn your starter off, and let's go back in our seat so we can see properly. There. Perfect. So now what you got is you have your hydraulic pressure is green. What you always want to do after startup, make sure that your hydraulic pressure is green. Your RPM is a little bit above 1,000 for a cold engine. You want to push that up to realistically about 1,300 or 1,250 really, because that's going to get you right below that bottom line of oil pressure. You have to actually put your throttle up quite far. Now that oil light and that generator light is going to stay on mainly on the ground. That is okay. So come down here, flip your generator light on, your avionics, your nav, your strobe, and your beacon. Once that is on, you're set there. So you fully start it up. Go ahead and close your canopy. Make sure that your air down here is turned on so that your cabin doesn't fog up. And double check your gauges. Make sure your manifold pressure is good. Manifold pressure is great. It's at 0 right now, or at 10. I'm not sure if that's 0 or 10 on there. I'm going to go with probably 10. And since we are at idle, that oil light is going to stay on. We have oil pressure. It's very low oil pressure, but we're not running the engine hard enough or even fast enough for us to have to worry about oil pressure. Oil pressure doesn't matter that much because we're getting about 50, 70 pounds of pressure right there. So we're good there. Our coolant temp is good. Carb temp is low because we started moving air through and it started to cool down a little bit. That's fine. As long as that stays in the green, you're good. You really don't have to worry about carb temp unless you're in bad icing conditions. Then you're going to have to worry about carb ice, and that's when you need to keep your carb hot. So guys, besides that and just turning on your GPS and your navs, you guys are all set. So there you go. I hope you guys like this tutorial. I hope this tutorial was well for you. That guy sure likes it. I mean, he likes the plane. So I hope this is a nice, helpful tutorial for you guys. And until next time, peace out, and don't forget to like.